Hello and welcome. In this video I'll discuss the readiness of proof-of-stake consensus algorithm, as well as providing information about proof-of-work, proof-of-stake and other consensus mechanisms. So the agenda is a background on proof-of-work, some of the issues and limitations of proof-of-work. What is proof of stake, its benefits compared to PoS, issues and limitations of proof of stake, the current status of the implementations, and conclusions. And to finish, I'll talk about some alternative proofs. So to give some background on proof of work, it has been around since 1999, but became mainstream in 2009 with its implementation in Bitcoin. Proof of work is a consensus algorithm used to confirm transactions on the blockchain and produce blocks. Blocks are produced by so-called miners, which solve mathematical equations using specialized hardware. All the miners try to solve the same puzzle concurrently and at the same time. Some projects using proof of work are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Monero, Zcash, and many others. So why change proof of work? Because there is a high cost of running mining operation, since it's continuously needing new or improved hardware. It has high energy consumption, which leads to higher electricity costs and also a deep environmental impact. Proof of work is slow to process transactions, as every node needs to validate every single one of the transactions. That's why it has a low transaction throughput. As an example, Bitcoin mines one block every 10 minutes. Proof of work doesn't provide an incentive to use or keep mined assets, and the only incentives come from the collection of transaction fees and the rewards for block creation. With a high cost of running mining operations, miners will move more and more towards mining pools. This, together with the amount of coins rewarded for creating a block reducing over time, could force many miners to stop operating, and that would lead to large pools becoming more powerful. Therefore, there's a risk of centralization. So what is proof of stake? It was first proposed in 2011. In proof of stake, instead of solving mathematical equations, the nodes that would like to participate in the block creation need to demonstrate that they own a certain number of digital assets or coins. This is similar to voting among shareholders of a company. And then they would then lock or freeze those coins in order to qualify for rewards. The process of locking those coins away is known as staking or forging. If the stakeholder gets to create a new block, it will receive a reward, which could be in the form of transaction fees collected within the block, or a set amount of digital assets in a similar way to an interest rate. The probability to be selected to create a block is proportional to the size of the stake. as opposed to proof of work, where all the nodes mine concurrently in order to generate a new block. In proof of stake, only the randomly selected stakeholder gets to create a new block. Therefore, there is no need to mine unless it has been selected. I'll now talk about some of the features of proof of stake. The forger node stake is used in a similar way to a security deposit to prevent the nodes from misbehaving and attempting to add fraudulent transactions. If a fraudulent transaction is found, the forger node will lose a part of their stake, as well as its right to become a forger in the future. Because of this, the validator node can be trusted for as long as their stake is higher than what they get from the transaction fees. There is what is called a stake time lock in place. The staked amount and transaction fees earned are not released immediately. If a node wants to stop being a forger, their stake plus fees will be released after a certain period of time, meaning after X number of blocks. This is to give the network enough time to verify that there are no fraudulent blocks added by the node, and if there are, they will still be able to punish him for it. Proof of stake must have a way of defining the next valid block in any blockchain. The selection by account balance or number of staked coins alone would result in centralization, as the single richest member would have a permanent advantage. So instead, several different methods of selection have been devised, such as coin age selection, meaning that the number of days staked multiplied by the number of coins staked. That's what coin age selection means. And the coin age is reset to 0 once they have been selected, and will need to wait to forge the next block. The randomized block selection is a combination of the lowest hash value and the highest stake, therefore it's predictable. And another way would be based on the amount of coins staked, based on the wealth. So what are the benefits of proof of stake? Unlike the proof of work, the proof of stake protocol does not require special mining equipment, which is expensive, quickly outdated, and hard to set up. This means a major barrier to entry for those would-be proof of work miners. Since only the selected node gets to work on generating the next block, there is no need for mining operations with a high energy consumption. This reduces the energy waste to close to 0, and therefore has a very low negative impact on the environment. As I mentioned earlier, with the proper algorithm, the staker is disincentivized from committing fraudulent transactions by being aware that his staked coins will be lost if they misbehave. Their reward won't be higher than the consequences. Also in proof of work, the cost of launching a 51% attack is equal to the cost of the computing power or hash of the network over the course of 2 hours, an amount that is roughly equal to the total sum of block rewards and transaction fees provided in those 2 hours. In proof of stake, the threshold is theoretically much higher because it's the 51% of the entire supply of the currency. Proof of stake has a better transaction throughput. Depending on the precise algorithm in question, it can potentially allow for a much faster blockchain. As an example, the NXT cryptocurrency has one block every few seconds compared to 1 per minute in Ethereum or 1 per 10 minutes for blockchain, for Bitcoin, sorry. Proof of stake is also more decentralized because in proof of work there are mining pools, meaning that miners can team up to centralize the mining process. And for example, in Bitcoin, if the 3 biggest mining pools by hash rate merge, they could potentially start approving fraudulent transactions because they would have the 51%, higher than the 51% of the network, or the hashing power in this case. The same happens with Ethereum, where you would only need 2 of those mining pools to reach the 51%. Some issues and limitations of proof of stake. There is what is called the coinage accumulation attack. Coinage is the number of coins multiplied by the number of days the coins have been held. For algorithms that rely on coin age without any restrictions, the stakers could accumulate coins for a long period of time, or start staking sooner on the chain also, until they reach enough coin age to exploit the algorithm. However, this could be resolved by capping the coin age or use it in conjunction with other mechanisms. A well-known problem is called nothing at stake. When a fork occurs in proof of work, on a proof of work chain, the miner needs to decide whether to continue mining on one chain or the other one. If they wanted to mine in both, then they would need to split up their hardware resources between them. However, voting on a particular version of a proof of stake blockchain requires no resources and therefore has no opportunity cost if the staker were to vote on both or all possible forks in order to try to maximize profit regardless of the outcome. 2 possible ways of addressing the nothing at stake problem are to penalize voters who voted more than one version of a given block, or to penalize voters who voted on the wrong block, regardless of whether or not they double voted. Another more difficult problem is the long-range attack. This comes from the right of stakeholders to withdraw their stakes. After such stake is unbonded, an attacker can go back in time and create an alternative fork from a point well in the past without chances of losing his security deposit. If more than 2/3 of the validators have unbonded their stakes, they could create another chain with alternative transactions. This would be especially more compromising if the number of stakeholders is relatively low. The attacker has nothing to lose if combined with the nothing at stake problem. This attack can be minimized by adding checkpoints every X number of blocks, because the state of the blockchain up until such checkpoint will be immutable. This is of particular importance in what's called weak subjectivity, which is the notion that a node comes online for the first time and will have to ask a trusted source what the hash of the valid chain is. So when that node comes online, they will need to know who to trust. And last, we have what is called the cartel formation, which is when large stakers collude to form an oligopoly or cartel to overtake the protocol. So what is the status of some of the proof of stake implementations? A lot of progress has been done on proof of stake since its first implementation in 2012, which was by Peercoin. It has evolved over time in different forms, such as a chained proof of stake, which is an algorithm that favors towards availability over consistency when network partitions occur, as per the CAP theorem, where only 2 out of 3 can happen in a distributed ledger, and the 3 possibilities are consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. Byzantine fault tolerance proof of stake, since it inherits the properties of any BFT consensus, it tolerates up to a third of Byzantine behavior among the nodes. And in general, BFT PoS algorithm favors towards consistency over availability when the network partitions occur. We also have what is called pure proof of stake, which is discussed later briefly and in use by the Algorand project. And last, the delegated proof of stake is another alternative of proof of stake, which we'll be discussing more detail in the alternative proofs. So I will discuss what I consider the 4 most prominent projects or proof of stake implementations, shall I say. One of them is called Tendermint, which is implemented in Cosmos. Was proposed back in 2014. And the block creation in Tendermint requires finality at the time of creation. Therefore, the block time should be short. And in order to achieve short block times, there needs to be a limit to the number of validators that Tendermint can accommodate for. Ouroboros, implemented in the Cardano project and still being developed, is meant to be launching this year. It's currently in testnet, and there are 2 phases called Byron and Shelley, which are currently overlapping. But this is not yet available to public validators in the mainnet. It is in the testnet, but not in the mainnet. Another one is Casper, which is the proposal by Ethereum, or what they call Ethereum 2.0. The phase 0 is expected to start this summer. There will be a slow transition to a hybrid proof of work and proof of stake. The entire premise of Casper is built upon resisting an oligopoly attack, so that no colluding set of validators can overtake the protocol. And also its design goal is to allow validators to pick their fault tolerant thresholds, which are customized via different parameters, while the network will maintain the low overhead of the proof of work. This is, in my opinion, one of the most ambitious of all the proof of stake projects at the moment. Then we have the pure proof of stake, which is implemented in Algorand, which it has fast confirmations of less than 4 seconds. What they call true decentralization, and basically it's computationally intense to randomly choose a validator from a large set of users. And to solve this problem, Algorand introduces an innovation called secret self-selection, in which each validator or committee plays a cryptographic lottery to know if they got the so-called winning ticket, and if they do, they become a committee member and can broadcast a message signed by the winning ticket. They also have added security because their block selection protocol is player replaceable. If an attacker tries to influence a message, they could try to attack the committee member with the winning ticket, and since the protocol doesn't need a single committee member to execute all rounds to create a block, each round could have their committee member selected randomly. The proof-of-stake implementation is live in its mainnet since earlier this year. So, conclusion, is proof-of-stake ready to come in? The short answer is almost. Even if a lot of progress has been done since 2011, and many projects are working on go live this year, such as Algorand, Cardano, the Phase 0 of Ethereum 2.0, etc. The implementations have yet to prove that they can scale for mainstream adoption. If they scale successfully and securely, then it could take blockchain mainstream and to a whole new level. But this is yet to be proven. So what are other alternative proofs? I'll briefly discuss delegated proof of stake, proof of importance, federated, Byzantine agreement, proof of authority, proof of burn, and I will mention a few other proofs as well. So the delegated proof of stake, or DPoS. In delegated proof of stake, the stakeholders do not directly get involved with the block creation or validation process. Instead, they can delegate their stake to delegates or witnesses which participate in the actual creation and validation of blocks on their behalf and will receive a portion of their reward instead. The pros are that they tend to be more collaborative than competitive, and is faster than PoS, than proof of stake, as the number of delegates is usually quite low and ranges between 21 and 101 delegates. The cons are that it's partially centralized and whales have a lot of voting power. Some important projects using DPoS are EOS, Tron, Tezos, Cosmos, Steam, Arc, and Lisk. Now, Tezos has kind of like a variation of DPoS called liquid proof of stake, and which is similar, but the delegation is optional, and each block is baked by a random baker are the delegates in this case, and then notarized by 32 other random bakers. Proof of importance. Similar to proof of stake staking or vesting in this case, but it tries to solve the issue with hoarding coins or accumulating coins. The nodes with more than X coins vested are given equal importance. Some of the inputs for randomization are the net transfers in the last 30 days, the vested amount, and if they are part of cluster nodes. The hoarding will reduce the importance while spreading coins, meaning the net transfers, will increase it. This is used in the NEM project. Federated Byzantine agreement is in each participant will trust a subset of nodes to reach consensus. The network is formed by many of these groups which overlap with each other, and calculating the overlaps to ensure a high level of consensus will spread the consensus and the information across the whole network. So advantages is that it has more decentralized control, high throughput, low transaction cost, and network scalability. Some projects using this are Stellar and, to a lesser degree, Ripple or XRP. Proof of burn is similar to proof of work algorithm, but without the energy consumption. In proof of burn, miners burn their coins for a chance to be selected to mine the next block. Advantages are that coin burns reduce the circulating supply, creating market scarcity, and it encourages long-term commitment by the miners. Also, a pro is low energy consumption. And cons are that it's not as fast as proof of work blockchains and not very transparent. The transparency comes from the fact that the process of burning coins is not easily verifiable by the average user. This was used by Slimcoin. Other proofs. So, proof of authority, where validators are approved or public identities, which need to be publicly verified. In proof of authority, the incentive is that your own reputation will be at risk if trying to validate fraudulent transactions. We also have proof of activity, which is a hybrid of proof of work and proof of stake. Because the mining process starts as a standard proof of work, and when a new block is mined, then the system will switch to proof of stake. A proof of authentication is aimed at the IoT or Internet of Things devices, and for devices with resource-constrained distributed systems. And last, the proof of delivery, which is aimed at increasing the trust between buyers and sellers, and the participants are incentivized to act honestly by using a double deposit collateral. Well, this is my overview, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching.